Coming up this morning, we take a look at President Trump's State of the Union address and some reaction to it. Plus, North Korea and the U.S. are going to start talking about denuclearization again soon. And back here at home, Perry County Police are warning businesses to be on the lookout for fake cash.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:30 on Wednesday, February 6th. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. It's going to be a soggy one, so get your rain jackets, rain boots, umbrellas ready, and plan to spend most of your days indoors. But if you're tired of the cold weather we saw last week, don't worry. Today and tomorrow are going to be what many would consider perfect. Let's check in with Brandon to give you a better breakdown. Today is a severe weather alert day, Brandon. As I mentioned, rain, and we're expected to get quite a bit of it.
Exactly, and some areas could start seeing that as early as this morning, or are already seeing it as early as this morning. Flood watch didn't go into effect till later, though. Let's take a quick look at the camera network as we head out the door this morning. 6:31, and you can see US 119 on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain, all quiet this morning, and so is UVA Wise over in Southwest Virginia. No major issues there as we head out the door. Across the last 6 hours, you see the rain starting to drift into parts of southern Kentucky. You can see it better there on live pinpoint Doppler radar. Anywhere you see those yellows and oranges, some heavier bands of rain, rather. 40s, 50s, and 60s heading out the door this morning. So between iced coffee and a normal day on the coffee meter, out the door forecast, we will see those rain chances pick up, especially as we head into the afternoon, and some rumbles of thunder possible as we get close to 70. The full forecast is on the way here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon. Well, President Trump struck a diplomatic tone to a divided Congress during his State of the Union address. Karen Jaffa has the highlights from Capitol Hill.
On a contentious Capitol Hill, the president preached unity.
The state of our union is strong.
To a divided Congress.
The only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations.
With Democratic Speaker Nancy Pelosi over his shoulder and scores of newly elected women watching in front of him.
Don't sit yet. You're gonna like this. We also have more women serving in Congress than at any time before.
Many critical of the president's demand for border wall funding that led to the longest government shutdown in history.
Walls work and walls save lives.
During the Democratic response, former Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams challenged Trump.
America is made stronger by the presence of immigrants, not walls.
Still, President Trump touched on bipartisan topics like infrastructure projects, cutting the cost of prescription drugs, and ending HIV in the U.S.
Together, we will defeat AIDS in America and beyond.
Trump also touted his foreign policy agenda.
Chairman Kim and I will meet again on February 27th and 28th in Vietnam.
Now, the president and Congress have until February 15th to work together to keep the government funded.
So let's work together, compromise, and reach a deal that will truly make America safe.
On Capitol Hill, I'm Karen Jaffa.
Now, last night, Senator Mitch McConnell's office sent us his thoughts on the president's speech. He says we must ask ourselves if we are better off today than we were 2 years ago. He says the state of our union is strong and growing stronger.
A business on Main Street and family farms are dusting off their help wanted signs. Smaller cities and states like Indiana, Nebraska, and Ohio have so many job openings that some of these communities are offering sizable cash bonuses to move there. Smaller communities in rural America recently outpaced the rest of the country in relative job creation. So it's an all-American comeback. And the kinds of places liberal policies left behind are now at the front.
Now, you can watch the president's full State of the Union address on our website at WYMT.com. Well, North Korea and the United States are set to restart denuclearization talks soon. U.S. Special Envoy Stephen Biegun is set to travel to Pyongyang today, where officials say he will sit down with his counterpart Kim Yong-chol, but ahead of the meeting, The United Nations is now saying that North Korea is hiding its nuclear missiles so that they cannot be destroyed. This as President Trump praised North Korea for tremendous progress in negotiations last week. Well, the Commonwealth of Kentucky is facing more than $54 billion of debt. A new report from the state auditor says 80% of that debt is due to the state's pension problems. Kentucky owes retirees more than $43 billion. That's about $12,000 for each man, woman, and child in the state. The report came out as lawmakers return to Frankfort tomorrow to continue the General Assembly.
There wasn't one reason that we got here. And unfortunately, there's not going to be one silver bullet that will help resolve it.
Now, it is still unclear if lawmakers will be able to pass a new pension bill by the end of the 30-day session. State Auditor Harmon recommends pension reform be broken into at least 3 bills. Meanwhile, Kentucky's Republican governor had an emotional conversation with representatives from the Poor People's Campaign about voting rights, poverty, and gun violence. Those representatives showed up to Governor Bevin's office yesterday and refused to leave until he agreed to meet with them. They urged the governor to sign an executive order that would automatically restore voting rights for convicted felons. Governor Bevin said the state legislature would have to change the Constitution to make that happen. Meanwhile, the Hazard Police are warning businesses to be on the lookout. In a Facebook post, they say someone has been passing around fake cash. The 50s and $100 bills have been used at restaurants around the city. People who work in the food industry say this is not right and people need to stop.
People would always say, keep the change, and give you a fake 100, fake 50, say keep the change, and you would think you have a really nice tip, but then later on that night you find out the whole entire thing was fake, so you got to pay everything back.
If you have any information, you can give Hazard PD a call. Well, it was a tense night for first responders in Perry County on Monday. Perry County Dispatch says someone was threatening people with a shotgun in the Saul community. They say Mitchell Bowling was spotted on an ATV holding a shotgun. The deputy told Bowling not to touch the gun, but Bowling grabbed the gun and threw it over an embankment. Bowling tried to back away from the deputy. After a brief struggle, the deputy took Bowling into custody. Bowling was charged with public intoxication, menacing, resisting arrest, and tampering with physical evidence. Well, pay close attention to the 2 photos you are about to see on your screen. The Manchester Police Department asks for your help identifying a woman and her vehicle. Here is the photo of the woman police need help identifying. They are looking to speak with her concerning a theft. And here is a photo of the vehicle police believe is related to said theft. Anyone who knows the woman or recognizes the vehicle is asked to call the Manchester Police Department at 606-598-8411, or you can send them a message on Facebook. Well, it's been a busy week for legal marijuana advocates here in Kentucky. They're pushing hard at the Capitol for bills that would change the state's cannabis laws, particularly for medical marijuana. But they also want the public to put pressure on lawmakers. As Garrett Weimer reports, they're working to gather more support at the grassroots level.
Advocates spent the day at the state capitol lobbying lawmakers before bringing their message to a room of community members at a public forum, explaining and answering questions about their efforts. Right now, there are 4 cannabis-related bills filed in Frankfort. One for medical cannabis, one for responsible adult use of marijuana, one to decriminalize pot possession, and Shauna's Law, which would put in place some workplace protections for public employees who use industrial hemp products. Many advocates say medical marijuana is their top priority.
We're 20-some years behind on medical marijuana. California was 20-some-odd years ago. We've got a lot of ground to make up. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot of sick and suffering patients in this state. We've got children that need help. We've got veterans that need access to get off opioids.
Advocates say they believe support is growing at the Capitol, but they also need the public to put pressure on lawmakers, too. They say some lawmakers still have questions and concerns about the medical cannabis bill, but advocates tell me they believe HB 136 will pass this session.
Pace that we're going, I absolutely believe it's going to be a reality. It would be a shame if it wasn't. Like we spoke of, the other states are offering it. The time is now. Patients are needing it now. Any delay only hurts the people of Kentucky.
So they plan to go back to the Capitol for more lobbying and to rally supporters to their cause. In Lexington, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
Now, advocates will rally in the Rotunda at 1:30 this afternoon. Let's head over to Brandon for another look at your weather.
Well, this morning we're continuing to track the rain, and it's going to be a big issue down in southern Kentucky, especially the I-75 corridor kind of covered up from basically just south of Lexington all the way into Tennessee this morning. So if you're traveling that direction this morning, or if you live in that area, be ready to see some wet roads and some heavier bands of rain. We take a little closer look toward the border. Middlesboro, you're seeing showers right now just south of Williamsburg over toward Barberville, down toward La Follette and over toward Harrogate, and then all the way up toward London as well this morning. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s, but only one spot in the 40s. Hazard right here at 49. I'll have the rest of the forecast in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon. Well, it's 6:40. We will have stories trending on WYMT.com next. And thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. We will have a pet from a local shelter in the studio in just a few minutes. And later, a popular frozen treat is celebrated today, and it is not ice cream.